to Shady Talk Wednesday. I am your lovely host, Miss Shade. I am back. I know I missed the episode 2 weeks ago. I was on a little vacation, but I am back in studio, live in Brave Studio. I must say, yes, thank you. Sometimes your girl just need a little vacay in the middle of nowhere. You know, I just need a little vacay in the middle of nowhere, out of nowhere, just because one of those things. But anyway, I'm excited today because I have my homegirl in the building with me today, Miss Rohesia Hicks. Yes. Give it up for her. Yes. And Rohesia's going to tell us a little bit about herself because I told her this book that she wrote is so amazing, so heart touching, so heartfelt, so inspirational. I don't even know. Okay, before I get into my little moment, go ahead and introduce yourself.
So my name is Rohesia Hicks. I'm so many things. It's always hard to tell my bio because I'm like I always leave something out. But I currently work with 6th through 12th graders every day, 9 to 5, sometimes 6 days a week, and just preparing them to think about transitioning into high school. And then after they get to high school, what do they want to do with their life? And I help them figure that part out. It's a federally funded program. Besides that, I started my Visions of Belle girls group, dabbled in some of the mentoring some young men, launched Envision My Beauty, which is now my brand that I'm doing. I'm also ordained elder at the Church of the New Covenant in East Orange. I have multiple certifications in mindfulness, tapping, life coach, you name it, I do it. And then I'm involved in a whole bunch of organizations. So that's just a little bit about me.
And you think I had time to tell the audience all of that? Absolutely. Absolutely not. But that is amazing. I mean, wow, your hands is in a lot.
It
you
is.
have a lot in the pot. I thought I was the jack of all trades. You the trade of all jacks.
Come on.
Nice though, but I love it all. All of it sound amazing. Once again, inspirational. Everything you doing, girl power, teaching, dealing with kids, dealing with adults, just all of that. But I am excited that you are here today. I don't think you even said you was an author.
Oh yes, I'm an author, a published author.
Oh
yes,
my
I am.
gosh, that's the reason why we're here.
That is true.
It's yes. I know. Sometimes when you're doing so much, just period. Even when I do shows, sometimes I be up on stage. I done did about so many shows now. I always forget to plug myself in.
Right.
Forget to say, "Oh, follow me here." Forget to say, "Oh, I got T-shirts" when I got a T-shirt on. So I get it, and it's all good. I'm just happy you are here today with me in the building. Her book is called "Envision My Beauty." Row. I hope I don't even cry on this episode. Serious. Oh my gosh. I already feel I'm gonna need tissue. When I tell you I read this book and I had to reread it because I had to go and underline some things and put my own captions at the top, being that I was going to interview you to ask you some questions about your book. But I just want to read this first, the beginning, where it say, growing up, I was a girl that always stood out. I was outspoken, bubbly and social. My mom always told me that she would pray over me so much because she knew I was different. She knew there was something special about me unlike any other girl. She strived to keep me close because with precious cargo, you must keep it secured and very close. Little did she know that with all the prayers and precautions, a thing called life would interfere with the safety net. I will be faced with attacks from people near and far that will ultimately shake the confidence and the boldness incorporated in my innocence. Girl, that ain't even the book.
It's not. That's just the first
That ain't even the book. Just the part of just saying, growing up, you knew you was a girl that always stood out. And then when you said a thing called life will interfere with that safety net, that I will be faced with attacks from people near and far that will ultimately shake the confidence and boldness incorporated in my innocence. That's deep. That's deep, and we ain't even. That's deep. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So I think just the fact of I've always, and I talk about it in the book, that when I was younger, I was so proud of my name, right? It was so different. Rohesia, Karina, Hicks, and it's like, I don't know that, and it's all people always got to show them how to pronounce your name correctly and all those things. But I was a middle child. I'm a middle child. I had 2 sisters, and we're exactly 5 years apart, like 5 years apart from each other. So it was always like my older sister kind of like was there, but then it was like, we were just 2 totally different personalities, right? And then you have the baby coming in. It's like, now you trying to take my shine. So I will always like go out to be making sure that I was always, involved in different things. At the time when I really started getting in school and my little sister came, I felt like my parents wasn't as hands-on as I would like. So I will always be involved in something. I'm on a debate team. I'm doing cheerleading. I'm doing basketball. I'm doing so many things. So that way I just stood out. And my thing was like, I just had all this energy. Mm-hmm. And I would always put on a show. Like, I felt like I should have been acting. I played instruments, all of these things that allowed me to be in spaces and places that I just got to be me. And that's where it comes in when you're a child. You have that innocence of like that carefree, wild child, no limitations. You're going to test the waters. You're going to do all the things. But then life hits us. Right? And then it starts altering how we maneuver. So now we're second guessing ourselves. Now we're doubting ourselves, But I always had that. My mom told us, like, speak up, right? Don't, if you have something to say it. Then she had to tell us, like, okay, be careful how you say it. Mm-hmm. But I always was able to express myself. Mm-hmm. So as a child, it's easy to express yourself, And then they're like, oh, kids are just being kids and they just have energy. But then as you start getting older and they start dictating who you're supposed to become, now they're putting all these labels and titles on you that at that age, I wasn't able to really fully comprehend what that meant and what that looked like.
And that's what I love about reading this book that you wrote, because I feel like, when we were younger, how you get to go back and just reminisce on your upbringing, see certain things about you in your life, where it can help you see where you went wrong, where you're going at in life. And I just feel that we need that, because growing up, who would imagine you would be an author writing your own book right about now, So I feel like when people are able to talk about the history of their upbringing, it means so much, where we as women or people like me, we can relate to what you're saying. And that first part where it was like, I was always a girl that stood out. That stood out to me because I feel like that was something about me that I realized that I was always that girl that stood out. Rather it was just comical, rather it was just my personality, a people's person. Right. It was something about me that it was just different. Mm-hmm. It was just different, but you don't really realize that until you get older and you start seeing the difference of who you are as a person. Another thing that I like when you was just talking about, because now I got to fast forward, but I'm going back. Okay. But how you did state, Rohesia, your mom found your name in a baby book in London. So I thought that was amazing how, because even how you just talked about it, like you were so excited that your name was Rohesia, right? And things like that, because I guess you felt that it was so different. Rohesia does sound like something that will be popular, somebody that will stand out. And then just the fact that where your mom got the name from. Also, too, guys, I didn't tell y'all, but I met Rohesia before the pandemic, and another reason why I love this book, and it's so funny because there was a part that you said in this book, and you was like, "Ooh, child," and what made me think of that, because Rohesia is somebody that we were in a play together, a few plays where we act in a play, and when I tell you, Rohesia was so amazing, like, when she used to hit the stage and have her parts to do and play this character of who she played, reading this book, I'm like, Rohesia need to do a play. She need to do like a small little movie.
You can hear my voice.
I can hear you.
And it is so crazy that you say that, because so when I originally was writing this book, I did not want it to be about me. Like in my mind, I'm like, it's gonna be the belle of the ball. Like I was gonna dibble and dabble, but I kept talking about it in third person. And God just kept speaking to me like, no, I need you to put the I. And then, you know, my mama, she was like, I can hear it in your voice when you say the baby. Like I can hear your voice and saying it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just have to go full force with it, because, and that was one of the major things when I was writing it and I was sending it to the editor. I was like, I need you to keep my voice. I need people to hear the baby in it, and the ooh child, like all of those things. When I need them to hear me when they read it.
When I read that ooh child, I was like, oh my gosh, I can hear her performing with ooh baby, ooh child, ooh that ooh. I was like, oh my gosh. So there was another line that I read that said, as a woman, we battle with so much, and it can feel very overwhelming and beyond draining. What did you mean by that?
So I just feel like in so many spaces, I'm always my title, right? I'm Director Hicks. I'm a sister. I'm an aunt. I'm a godmother. I'm an elder. I'm this. I'm that. And sometimes I just want to be Ro, right? Not even a full Rohesia. I want to be Ro. I want to laugh at the corny jokes. You know, I want to snort when I laugh, like all of those things. And what I realized is that society doesn't allow us to just be us and it be okay, right? That's not popular, right? We always have to be on, like social media. Like we're only putting the good snippets of it, and I think like that's the unfortunate part about it. But then they're like, okay, I need you to be more soft. Now we're all in our soft girl era, right? But then it's like, okay, but be assertive, but don't be too assertive because you're gonna come across aggressive, right? Then it's like, okay, but you're supposed to be married with kids, but you're supposed to be a career woman. It's like every time I turn around, I have to be superwoman, and it's like sometimes it's just like I just want to be. And I realize the older that I'm getting, as much as I'm an extrovert, I'm starting to tap into my introvert mode, and it's fine. But the difference is because of through therapy and doing the work, I recognize that I genuinely love me, right? And when you're able to sit with yourself and be content, it's like, oh yeah. Okay. And then you realize how exhausting it is that you got to put on these masks and show up for everybody else. And it's like, I need to show up for myself.
Right. And that's what I love about this book, too, because you break a lot of that down about just even going to therapy, just showing up for yourself, just wanting to be yourself, just some of the things that, you know, you experienced in your life. So I'm going to move on a little bit. Okay. Beep, beep, beep. Okay?
Come on, alarm.
So what I got from that, okay, you kind of talked about how we as people, women, when we wake up, we got this social media thing on our brain. And it's so crazy how you broke it down with the social media, how we wake up, we look at it, the things we're looking to see when we look at it, who's following us, who's this, who push like, how many views we had, you know, till we really get in front of that mirror. That was deep to me, how you kind of broke that down. I can't read it all, guys, because y'all know we only got an hour here. So I'm definitely going to tease y'all about it. But when I tell y'all this is an amazing book to read, this is an amazing book to read. Especially for us young women or older women or just women, period. Just how it's just so broken down. And I like, even because you are a young girl and you're saying, you know, you're talking about your experiences, even with, you know, your parents and things like that, to where as though, you know, some of our parents, you know, some of the things you were saying, I could understand in our parents. Even when you said something about your dad, basically, how I got to get to that page. Okay, but wait, because now I'm sliding down. Okay, but let's talk about the social media when that sounds goes off that you talked about.
So for me, when I get up in the morning, I need things to be like very low key. Like growing up, I realized I'm like, why are you so loud? Like, why she always yelling, right? But I realized like the first 15 minutes needs to be very calm for me. So when the alarm goes, I'm jolted, right? Okay. And then the first thing I do, I always grab my phone. And now the first thing I do is social media. Now we got like the sleep modes on it. But initially it's like, okay, that's my check-in, right? Because I'm not watching the news anymore because it's so depressing. Every time you look at it, it's just so much. But then it's like, okay, I know I'm going to get all the emotions. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to smile. I'm going to joke. I'm going to cry. All the things on Instagram is my thing. Right. TikTok, I will be up until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But Instagram is my thing. And I recognize that the more that I was on Instagram, like you're recognizing, you see people, because my page is public. You see people and it's like, oh, I know that person. And then it's like, oh, they liked it. Then it's like, okay. Then I'm looking at the stories like, okay, you watching it, but you're not liking it. Like, don't be a hater. Don't be like, you know, one of those like ghost creeping and you looking at it and you're not really liking it.
Right.
And I realized like I just started to become, because it was like, you know what? That's how I'm getting some validation.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, that's cute. Okay, check. It's the no, like I know I was cute, but when somebody else saying it's cute, it's like, okay, cool. But then now you're scrolling. And now you seeing people that is just like, well, they always ask somebody for everybody. Where my boo at?
Right.
You know
right.
what I'm saying? Where he at?
Right.
You know, or the fact of like when you're not content within yourself, you think you see things that kind of bring that up in you. Right? So the fact of like, you know, at the time when I have originally started writing it, career-wise, I was like in a place of like, I'm about to get my master's, but like I'm working like at a counselor level and I could be a director. And it's like, but now I'm seeing all these people that I know good and well. They was not doing what I like. I don't even know if they got a degree. Now they got a good job with benefits. Right? So now you get into that comparison mode, because it's like the dirt is being uncovered about what you're lacking in and what you don't have. And it's like right there. And I think that you can be so honest with yourself than you could if you're talking with someone. So in the moments of, yeah, I'm scrolling, now I'm upset and now I'm feeling, but then it's like, oh, wait, I don't want them thinking that I'm a hater, so let me just comment on a post.
Right.
You know, because it's the fact of like, I know I may not, you know, I'm a hater.
Right.
But I don't need nobody else knowing that I'm a hater, because I have this facade that you see me. When you see me, she going to be positive. She going to be this. She going to be that. And then now I'm getting dressed and now I'm staring myself in the mirror. And I'm a visual person.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure, like, I needed people to feel that and sit in that. And the fact of like, when you feel like you're staring at yourself and sometimes you don't recognize yourself, because life has really beat you down.
Yeah.
And I recognize that, yes, life has made me the person I am, but whether I choose to stay in that place is up to me.
I agree. So another thing I read, mirror, mirror on the wall, do you see what I see? Tell me the truth. Am I all that you see? Am I the person that people have told me or I convince myself to be? So that's basically what you were saying, like as far as like people feel like social media, they need that to kind of like, I guess, somewhat define themselves.
Right.
You know, needing that push to make themselves feel better about themselves, and so you feel like that's like a very big distraction somewhat.
It is. And I also recognize, so part of some of the things every year since I started Vision of Bell, every year we have a self-conference, and I call it the self-conference because every year we're going to focus on a part of ourselves, right? And then it was self-image was one year, and it was actually, the title was, do you see what I see? Right? And then we did like these commercials of like looking in the mirror and seeing it. And I recognize sitting in that. And they always say that when you're a writer or you're writing something or you're about to, you know, impart to others, you are the first partaker.
Okay.
Right? And I had to recognize that sometimes you you jump in the mirror, make sure I got no coal in my eye, you keep it moving. But if you really sit in it, right? And really focus in on and zoom in on you. It can be uncomfortable. Like I do an exercise with young girls whenever I do a workshop with them, is I have a mirror and I just want you to just look, just stare at the mirror. And they are so uncomfortable because they're uncomfortable within themselves. And it's like, wow, who told you that you weren't beautiful? Who told you that? And they also say that, you know, you can see the windows to the soul through your eyes. So now all the things that you've gone through is going past that. Because now I'm really staring into the heart of who I am.
Deep. Okay, so let's get to another icy part of the book. Similar to others, you had to grow up so fast and quickly. You made adult decisions and took on the responsibilities of people who should have been there to protect you. Now, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean by that? I mean, I know what you mean by that, but tell us, what do you mean by that?
So part of it, I think it really started from when I was molested, right?
Okay.
And it was by my uncle.
I read
It is always, you know, and I think like there's still some residue at times. You know, I had forgave him before he passed and everything. But I recognize that because of the mental toll that it takes on you, where you feel like it's your fault.
Right.
Right? You feel like, okay, you're the adult. Right? I'm the child. I don't know any better. So I'm looking to you to guide me, And I just felt like the way that some family members handled it was inappropriate. Right? Now that I know, you go healing and you see it on TV all the time.
Right.
I recognize the fact of in that moment, especially being in West Indian culture, they kind of sweep it under the rug, right? And you kind of deal with it in-house.
I think that's a lot of cultures.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That is true. We deal with it in-house, right? And it's like, okay, it's been addressed, everybody knows, and that's it. But it's like, what about the process of the fact of now, how do I manage, right? If I have certain urges, is it because I'm really having urges or because of what the trauma that I experienced, right? It's the fact of being able to be comfortable around others and not feel like somebody else is going to take advantage of me.
Right.
I think that at times when you're respectful, you may be a little bit quieter, especially with adults. As kids, I was raised that you should be seen and not heard, right? So it's like that respect level of like, okay, I need to just be quiet, or, if I say something, it's going to be, I'm being grown or being fresh and all of those things. But it's the point of, and what I learned in therapy was as adults, right? I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to be here.
Right.
But as adults, it's our responsibility to take care of who you birthed into this world.
Now, do you feel like in that moment that you weren't protected, even though, I believe you said you was, what kind of, I know you said you were molested. And it was like an event or at somebody, I know you was at a house.
It was at a family function.
It was at a family function.
And it was something that I wasn't the first, right?
Right.
It has been said that it was happening in the family and things like that. But I think the difference was because the way I was raised, that my mom taught, like, nobody should be touching you.
Right.
Right? So my thing was, I need to tell my mom, but I also know how my mom is, right? My mom going to turn up. She was the turn up before the turn up became turn up.
Yeah.
And it's the fact of because that children, you're inferior to the adults. It's like, I don't want to say nothing. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Maybe you start internalizing, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe it was my fault. And then some family members saying like, it was because of your fault, right? Because you develop more. And it's like, clearly now I realize like, clearly something happened to you.
Right.
And now you're projecting what either was projected on you or what you process. And now you're continuing this cycle. And my thing is, I'm glad that I did, even at a young age, and I had to recognize, and I had to say, God, why me? Why did I have to endure that, right? And there was a moment, I'll never forget, when I was getting ready to get ordained, they had us doing assignments and paperwork. And I remember saying that if it wasn't me and it was someone else, if you want somebody else to experience that, would they been able to speak up?
Right.
Right? Because me speaking up stopped it, right? It was handled. There was no other situations. But for me, it was like a letdown because I felt as though as a kid, it's like, well, if you were there, then maybe it wouldn't have happened. But it was because of the trauma that I had when I felt abandoned. Right? So it just piled on.
It just piled
and
up.
at a young age, you don't process and realizing that now it's another layer that's being brought onto the root of what's happening because it wasn't dealt with.
Right.
But also, and I think, and at that time, of course, like my mom and my dad didn't really know about like therapy in that way. And I think had I went to therapy, I would have been able to unpack some things a lot sooner. But I recognize that was another thing. And I kind of talk about when you weigh the good versus the bad, right? Which plays a part in now when you have relationships with men and how you interact with them. Like, it's not all bad, right? He apologized. The behavior seems different, right? I'm speaking on it. But then depending on what the consequences are, you tend to be quiet, right? If it's not received well, you're not going to speak up about certain things and you allow this behavior or this pattern to happen.
Okay. So I see where you said there's no time to have a pity party. You have to get ready. What did that mean? Like, are you saying like throughout life you just felt like anything that you felt that was holding you down some way, when you came back up a little, you just felt like there's no pity party. I got to keep going.
I think it's the moments of like, we tend to be like, woe is me, right? We think about all the things that's going wrong, all the things that, oh, I wish I had this and I wish, and it's like, I don't have time for that, right? And it's not because I don't have time for it because I don't necessarily want to deal with it per se. I don't have time because I have to be on.
Yeah.
I have to perform. I have to go somewhere. I have to be somewhere. You know, so it's the moments of being able to sit within yourself, and that's the part. And I think that it's healthy to sit. Like there are times that I have to stand in the mirror and be like, "Girl, get yourself together.
Yeah.
Like you bugging, right? Like what is going on with you?" With no holds barred, because it allows me to get my thoughts out of my head, right? To speak it out, to really identify what is holding me back, what is causing this feeling, so that way I can deal with it head on.
Right. Okay. And another part I read that I love was embracing your choices involved accepting that you made the best decisions you could with the information and the perspective you had at that time. It's about recognizing that every decision, whether it's led to a positive outcome or not. So what do you mean by embracing your choices? Involves accepting that you made the best choices that you could with the information that you had.
So I am a true believer of I've always tried, I don't want to live in regret. Right? I don't want to live in a space of like, I made a decision. Oh my gosh, why would I do that? I would never. And my thing is, in the moment, based upon the information that I had, based upon what I was dealing with, I'm making the decision based upon that. Right? So, you know, for me to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to let's say I'm having a child, right? I'm not going to have a child right now because, you know, in that moment, I may not have a stable job. I don't have health benefits.
Right.
I barely have somewhere to stay, right? So I'm making a decision based upon that information.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I can't hold that or not have forgiveness for the decisions that I made because that's what I was presented with.
Yeah. And I like, sorry to cut you off, and I love that you broke that down like that, because some people, even to this day, are still holding on to decisions that they made where, you know, not that they didn't have a choice, but that was just the knowledge that they had at the time. So to be able to tell people that it's okay to be free from that, that's what I love about that part in the book, that I would love people to read. Listen, I'm just giving y'all little pieces of the book because I don't want to get them.
Don't get them
I'm
all,
trying. I'm trying, and I underlined so much stuff that I wanted to talk about, but I know we're not going to have a lot of time. But I just want to give y'all little pieces because I like when I'm talking to her and she's answering some of the questions and I'm reading a little bit of it because I just kind of want you guys to know like what's in this book to read about.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the interesting part I recognize is that, you know, they all say, once you know better, you do better.
Right.
Right? And what I recognize is if you continue the same cycle, continue to make choices that are not in the best interest of yourself, you're going to keep repeating that.
Right.
It's going to happen again, right? And for me, I recognize, like, let me do it differently. And I can't hold hostage the young woman I was when I was in my early 20s than I am now because I have different information.
Right.
Right? I've experienced different things.
Right.
Like I always tell the young girls I've been there, done that, got a sticker. Okay? Like I've been there, so I'm able to make different decisions. But I think what's important is for us as women to understand there are options and stand on it. Right? 10 toes down on whatever decision you made. And that's why you have to make sure it's the decision you made.
Right.
Not because of somebody else, not because of what somebody else told you to do or not do. It's because you can stand and say, I made that decision. I'm going to stand behind it. You know, and I think that's the part that we miss. Is, I shouldn't have made that. Or people make you feel bad. Nobody can make you feel bad.
Right. And I feel like in order for you to receive that, you have to be able to stand in it. Because if you don't stand in it, you will repeat the same situations again, like you said.
It's going to be a cycle.
You have to stand in it. Okay, here's another part. I think about one of my lowest times. I arrived at a point in my life where there was no turning back. Have you heard the saying, what you don't confront, you will confirm to? I like that.
You will become it. You will definitely become it because it will lay dormant.
So when you say when you don't confront it, what do you mean confront it? Like, I guess what we was just talking about, standing in it.
So like just even in the fact of like unforgiveness, right? I think about past relationships that I've been in, right?
Okay.
And the fact of, being cheated on, never really addressed it because it's like, I'm dope. What you mean? You ain't want to that's cool. And you move on, but you don't think about the fact of, the person cheated on you. And not to say that was something that you did was the reason for them cheating, but you played a part in it on some level, right? And it may be the fact of you knew that you settled with that person and that wasn't who you were supposed to be with. So because I didn't confront that part of me, now in my next relationship, I'm bringing it. And it's just like when they say you're bringing baggage with you, right? And I think if you can speak to it, if you can call the name of what it is, now you can be able to attack it, right? But when you don't, it kind of like sits there, and then now you wondering why do I feel like this energy? Like I remember going through a phase in my life, I'm like, I just have this energy inside me, and like it's making me upset, but I can't really pinpoint what it is, and it just feels like an overwhelming cloud. And it was because I didn't deal with times that I should have spoke up and I didn't speak up.
And also too, what I like about what you said, basically been there, done that, got a sticker about it, because I feel like sometimes people don't understand that the part where you saying I got a sticker on it now, basically like been there, done that, now I have a sticker on it, because some people seem to hold on and talk about past relationships that you had. Like to me, I feel like in my 20s versus half of my 30s to now in my 40s, those are totally different kind of situations.
Absolutely.
So to actually say, been there, done that, I got a sticker on it, I think that's what I'm going to use at the end of that quote.
Yeah.
Because that's true, though. It's like people are still holding on and talking about things as if life doesn't change, as if back then you weren't at a different mindset like we talked about. Those were those choices then. You didn't know. And just like you talk about, approaching those situations, or, just finding your way basically to understand the things that you've been through to move on, like basically standing in it.
Right. And I also think the importance of like the difference, and the difference between a victim and a victor, right? Is the fact that the victim stated, oh my God, I'm hurt. And you on the side, you want all this attention. Right. To say, oh yes, I saw what happened. Versus the victor gonna get up and say, no, I need help. Yeah. Take me in the ambulance because I need help. And it's to the point of, do you love yourself enough to go and get help, whatever that help may be, right? Or you want to stick there and keep saying, woe was me, and blame everybody else, and because of my circumstances, this is why, because the way I was raised, this is why. And it's like, at this point, now we grown, we can't blame nobody else.
We can't keep using those. We can't keep using those. Now, this was very special. Every little girl desires to be a daddy's little girl. When you get a taste of it, you believe there's no greater feeling. I love that. Because even reading into it, okay, I'm gonna do a little more. I had plenty of great moments with my dad growing up. Even times when we're not so great, he was right there in front, making sure no harm came my way. I love the part that you talked about. I thought it was so cute how you say, like, just being that daddy's little girl, and you had your dance at your school, and just how just dancing with your father, and doing those kind of things. And I think about that because I can imagine every little girl wants to experience that daddy little girl thing, because I feel like that daddy little girl thing, even though some of us had it a little bit a certain way, because I even read how you talked about your dad's love language, just learning his love language. That was cute too. I love that because, as our parents, sometimes as you get older, you start to look back and understand that, because I see in a part, oh my God, I'm just telling the whole book. I see in a part of the book where you also talked about that you was upset with your daddy for some time,
baby.
And because you thought that he left you at your dance and didn't come back, and you caught a ride home. And then I was reading about how basically, even in that moment with just being in a car with your friends and who took you, who drove you, the tear you talked about that you held from dropping that part was so heart touching, because even if it's just not a father situation, we all know about those tears, those choke tears that you hold in when you're so hurt about something, but you have to stand there in it. And that's why I like this whole book, because even talking about that moment, just in life, how people do have to stand there with that tear and hold it, that feeling and that emotion that they have, and how they have to keep going. But it also showed how from your teen years you held that anger.
Yes,
You held that anger. you held that anger with your dad until you actually had a chance to speak to him, and on top of speaking to him, you learned his love language. So basically, were you saying you forgave him, right?
I forgave him, and it was so interesting. So nobody knows this part, so this is the insider. I was going to take that part out of the book because I recognized that it didn't happen like I thought it did. And I remember a close friend that was like, she had wrote a book, and she was like, "Girl, you write your book and stuff." And I was like, I don't want to put that, because now I'm realizing that it's not fully true, and that I'm mixing other situations that took place, and now I'm combining it. And she was like, "No, you need to show that journey, because at that age, and then with that mindset, that is why you operated the way you operated, based on what you recall and you were presented with." And one thing that I recognize in going through that is looking at both of my parents. Both of my parents are West Indian.
Right.
You know, my dad is one of 16. So that already
plays a major
explains
part.
how, that played, in regards to that. And I recognize that I couldn't just look at how they parent me just based upon them just being my parents, right? I had to see how their parents parent them, and then their parents parent them. Like, I'm all about my culture. I want to know who and what and where and how do we migrate over here and all of those things. And that allowed me to not say that it excused his behavior.
Right.
It helped me understand why he operated the way that he operated.
Right.
But then it allowed me, and my dad's like, he's like a jokester, but not a jokester. So when I finally did have the conversation, thanks to my mom, because, that's my partner in crime. That's my girl. She's like, "Go ahead, call me back after."
I read that.
What I recognize, and it's the saying, I'm probably going to get it wrong, when they say you want to poison someone, but you drinking the poison thinking it's going to hurt them. And in that moment when my dad revealed that he and my dad has a good memory, okay, about to be 80, memory banging,
Wow.
right? And he was like, "Yeah, I think about it from time to time." In that moment, I remember feeling like, I've been holding this for years, thinking that he didn't care.
Right.
And this man is like, I think about that from time to time. And it's like, so I was holding on to this unforgiveness for all these years, 30 plus years, thinking that it's hurting him, but he was already beating himself up about it. Right. And that allowed me in that moment to be like, I got to let that go.
Yeah.
Now my dad told me he loved me till he can't. We do not go wrong. I love you. God bless. I'm like, I love you too, Dad. And our relationship is different. And I had to also recognize, yes, he's my dad, but he's a man.
Right.
Right. And I had to see the man in him, see how, the son in him that went unloved in the way that I felt that I should be loved.
Right.
And I think that's part of it, right? Like, not seeing it from one side, only, what happened to me. It's like, okay, could he have done differently?
Right.
Did he know how?
Right.
Girls.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He got 3 girls.
Right.
With 3 different personalities,
Right.
3 different needs in regards to, like, I'm a waterhead.
Right.
Me
too.
My little sister, she the baby, so but like, I'm tough, but then it's certain things I'm like, ooh, that might tear me up. But that didn't change that I'm still a daddy's girl, even with that.
And you know what else I love about that part of the book is, because I do think we as adults now, sometimes we don't look, or we never really paid attention until now, our histories of our parents to kind of understand why some of the things we face or dealt with, or learning different love languages, where it come from, how they were brought up, things that they weren't taught, things that they didn't know, how unfortunately it did affect us, but because like you said, you're at this place now where you had therapy, you had things like that. Because I always say we didn't really hear about therapy growing up. We talked about guidance counselors.
Yes.
In school we had neighbors and things like that. But I feel like now we're kind of at that place where we're getting so much knowledge of things that could be very helpful for us to think back, like how you talked about, your father and just, their nationality, where they come from,
Right.
to just understand, the love language. And another thing I love is that you held on for that for 30 years. And that's another thing I feel like we as people, sometimes we're holding on to things that we don't converse with people. We don't try to figure out. We don't try to think. We got this emotion that just keep us so stuck back, when some of those emotions is like you said, you beating yourself up and the person is already beating yourself up.
Right.
But I feel like that's the part of adulthood. It doesn't make it a good thing. But unfortunately, that's why I'm saying books like this, people like you who's able to share these moments, these upbringings, your life, and breaking it down the way you have, I think it's so relatable, and it's a good thing that people can read it, and understand some things in life, a little better.
Yeah, and for me, I really strive to be intentional about when I wrote the book, right? For me, it was the fact of, okay, we tell go to therapy, get get healing, right? Confront your demons, confront your past hurts and traumas, and it's like, but nobody shows you how to do it, right? And that was the purpose of it being a practical guide, like real stats that I am actually still going through each day to continue to grow and continue to strive. And my thing is, why not share that information? Why do we keep it? Just say, okay, trust, just trust in the Lord, just pray on it, and it's like, but I still got to do the work with it,
right?
And I think that was important, and also recognizing that as you start pulling back the layers, it's going to hurt. You're going to get some cuts. You're going to get some scars. But in order to fully heal, you got to get to the root. So, and I think sometimes when we start pulling back the layers of identifying where this hurt comes from, it can overtake us so much that we like, I'm good, I'm stopped. And it's like, no, because the other side of it is beyond amazing.
Right.
So you have to continue to dig.
Right.
Continue to dig till you get to the root of it. Because once you attack that root, you're going to produce amazing fruit.
I can imagine. So let's talk about your ride or die. I'm assuming your ROD is your ride or die. Yeah. Growing up, I would say that I was a chunky old thing. I remember my ride or die threatening to beat up the boys that made fun of me because of my weight. She will remind me of all the fantastic things that I had to offer and tell the bullies, that's all you got? My friend is cute. She has long hair and she doesn't stink. I thought that was so cute, because I know just having that ride or die, or that friend, especially growing up with, that you're still friends with now, that you also feel like that was your protector. It's just amazing to still have, to the fact that you're even able to write about her in the book. So when it comes to your friendships, because I know you have other girls, and you did say you have a group of girls called Bellas.
The Bells.
The Bells. How do you find the Bells type of girls? Describe your Bells.
They find me.
Okay.
And they be little me's.
Okay.
So it's so interesting. So first of all, my ride is amazing.
Okay.
And it's so interesting because we are still close, still like we could be in a room and not say anything and had a full conversation and be like, and people like, well, what's going on, right? And it's because she's seen me at my worst and she's seen me at my best, but always spoke life, right? It was never a comparison, never I want and things like that, which allowed us to genuinely have a sisterhood, even though we both have our own siblings, right? And what I recognized was that you only meet yourself,
Right.
Right. So this is the strategy. Working with middle school and high school girls, it's always a couple of them that they you gotta put them in. You gotta be like, why you not here?
Yeah.
Where you at? You know. And it's so funny. One of my mentees, you can't tell her that she not my daughter. Okay.
Right.
She had a presentation. She was like, yeah, you know, Miss Hicks, she came up and pulled up on the curb. She was to Shabbat. She pulled up on the curb and was like, where are you going? Because she had cut school. And I was like, really? You had me in my prom? Because now I ain't doing that, okay? I'm not doing that. But my thing is and I thank God that I have a unique way of seeing greatness in people, even when they don't see it. So for me, even in dealing with young girls, I'm not dealing with who they are currently.
Right.
I meet them where they're at so that I'm relatable, but I'm still speaking life because I see greatness in them, even when they don't.
Right.
And for me, I recognize that I always wanted to be the person that I felt as though I didn't have growing up, or those key characteristics or attributes that really was like, they got me together. They snatched me up real good. I wanted to be that person, right? Like I always said, my mission in life is to impact and influence youth in my community. And that's just how I strive to live my life.
Right.
The other part was that I had to recognize in mentoring young girls, you can't just talk about it, you have to really be about it. Right. And I can't say that I'm passionate about women empowerment and I'm ready to beat up a chick, right? I'm telling the chick off. Right.
Absolutely.
So I had to even operate in love even when I don't want to. But it's also categorizing people and knowing who can get close to me and who cannot. And I think the best way that I've been able to identify that is like, it's a Heisman Trophy, right? If you ever think about a Heisman Trophy, they had the football and he has the football to his chest and then the hand deflecting, right? And there are some things and some people that can get close to me. That means you can see me in all levels of it, and I know I'm safe.
Right.
And when I say safe, not in necessarily like physical way, but safe in knowing that you're not going to talk about me behind my back, right? You're going to hold me accountable. You're not going to spread my business. You know, you're going to be cheering for me and genuinely cheering for me. Not like, oh yeah, I know her, because you just want to connect to who I know, right? And there's some people I got to deflect. Right. I'm still cordial. Right. I'm still going to operate in love, but you don't get to see Ro. Right. You get Director Hicks. Right. You get the Miss Hicks. Right. You get Rohesia the author. Right. You don't get the role that I want to walk around in my bonnet, okay, in the house with no bra on. You ain't gonna get that side. Right. But I recognize that I had to show these young girls what that looks like. I remember we would go to other events, and some of the events that we went to, these other women had their own girls, and they were really nasty. And I remember they like, why we keep coming here, Miss Hicks? Like, why we gotta go to these? They don't support us. And I was like, it doesn't matter what they do. Right. We have to set the standard of what it looks like. And I had to show them as women and the women that you're gonna become, you can have disagreements, but we gonna work it out. We gonna figure it out. Right. Within ourselves, we're not gonna tear each other down. And they built their own sisterhood. But I also recognize, so I had them when they were like 13, 14 years old, right? And then like I'm a Girl Scout troop leader. I recognize that young girls, by the time they get ready to go into 10th grade, they drop out of Girl Scouts. So now they have nothing. That 10th to 12th grade, they have nothing. So that's when Vision the Bell would always get their recruitment from, right? Those girls, partner up with different school districts and being vendors for them. But then I realized at 18, I was like, okay, y'all 18, y'all done, y'all grown. And I recognized they were not prepared and they were not ready, right? So then I'm like, okay, so what happens to the 18 to 25-year-olds who I got you to 18? Some of your peers ain't make it to 18. I got you there, right? What happens now? Because they like, oh, you're an adult. They're an adult, but because of life, they don't have the mentality of really what an adult has. So now I have to pour into you a little differently. And that's why it really was like, the book was like for that group. Like, I'm like, it's for every age, right? My older ones, my mom's like, I don't know if it's really for the older ones. I was like, yes, because that inner child that you did not heal, it's going to get addressed, right? But I feel like there are times where, as women, because we're so complex and there's so many different variables to us, we don't always identify where do we fit in with things, right? What does that look like? I'm in a group and I'm hanging out with older people, but I'm the youngest one in the circle. But then when I'm with the younger ones, I'm too mature. So it's like, where do you fit into that? And I recognize that's why the book had to be made, right? It had to be for those girls who like, okay, I'm starting this process of loving myself, healing, getting past mommy issues, daddy issues, you know. But then it's like, but I still need somebody to coach me. I still need that push. And I think that sometimes when we get adults, they be like, okay, you're adult and you're on your own. It's like, you can't do that. This is forever a teachable moment throughout our years. Like, I still need coaching and teaching at my age. And that's what I recognized in doing that. But then I also had them pour down into the younger bells. And now all my bells, they're about to graduate. So like my last little group, they are like seniors in high school.
Can we get a round of applause for that?
I mean, it was no easy feat, you know. But they are out there killing it. And I always tell them as a mentor, if you don't supersede me, I failed. I felt as a mentor.
Oh, that's
so
deep.
The fact that, you know, so it's like even now that was okay, I guess I gotta get my doctorate because Miss Hicks got her master's. You sure do.
And I love that. That's why I'm saying this book, it breaks down so much, even just seeing now, even at the ages that we are, who we can confide in, because when I look back, some of those people who I thought was those people, they are not those people anymore. And it's okay, but that's the part of becoming who you are, no matter what age you are, seeing what tables you fit at, you know, see what crowd you fit with, you know, see, you know, learning the people who you are supposed to be around, regrouping yourself.
Knowing the time, the season, and their reason.
And it's no shade about it, but it's just when you do reach that place, you do start to tap into yourself, and you start to realize those things, and that also helps you put people in a place where they belong in your life,
and create boundaries,
and create boundaries. Because I see here where you put, I also learned and realized while talking to my therapist that it was me telling myself, not people, that I don't belong at tables that I kept finding myself at because I didn't look or sound like those around me. So that's basically what you was explaining. That's why I like that. I also love this. And this is something that I want to also say for myself every day. I love this part. Lord, I thank you for the opportunities that are ahead of me. And I ask that you will allow my name to be in spaces and places that my feet have not entered yet. That my name will be on people's mouths and minds when greater is an opportunity for me. And I thank you in advance for abundance and elevation, expansion, greater territories and resources that will pour over me. I love that. And then I love how you broke down here. Separate feelings from facts. Celebrating the small wins. Stop comparing. Talk to others. Talk to a therapist. But separating feelings from facts. I love that.
Because I get in my feelings. I get in my feelings real quick, and I have to realize that what I'm feeling is a trigger reaction to something. It's whether I'm feeling a little fearful about something, the unknown. I am a Taurus. I like to be grounded. I like stability. So for me, not knowing what's next, it's like let me figure out. I'm a plan. I need to know A, B, C, D, and I'm gonna throw F, G in there too. But I recognize it's the fact of what are the facts, and if I don't get the facts, and I think in the point that you made in regards to, it's not always about other people saying these things. You're saying it to yourself.
And it's so crazy.
You disqualifying yourself. It's really like people don't realize the power in, like, I know they say power is power, power in your tongue, life and death in the power of your tongue. And what I recognized, I was joking about this book. We were at a photo shoot with the Bells getting ready for a self-conference. I was like, they was getting ready. And I was like, I should write a book. And then, they my hype girl. Write a book? Write a book. I'm like, y'all was going to be belling, all these things. And it manifested. It took on its own life with it. But, like, I say things. And it's like, but I don't recognize the fact of, like, now I'm actually putting the work because now I'm speaking those things. And that's why I'm so intentional about speaking life over me, saying prayers over me. Granny, y'all still pray for me all the time. But there's a difference when you pray because it changes how you show up in spaces.
I agree. I love that. And see, we are here at the end. I can't even get to the rest of this stuff. But Rohesia, when I tell you this book is so inspirational, I'm telling y'all, my Facebook followers, y'all got to get this book. And it's not like it's 1,000 chapters. I love that it's simple, but it breaks down everything. I do believe that it will encourage and help other women, kind of see themselves. The book is very inspirational. It's heart touching. Like I told you, I cried on a few pages. And I guess too, because I've worked with you before, so I know you. So I'm just like, oh, Ro, so
right.
That's that thing when you kind of just, have for other women, when you could kind of feel each other emotions. And I feel like in this book, it will help women understand their emotions, because I had just talked about that on a video. I don't know if it was the best video, but that's what I was trying to get into. Just trying to understand that at this age that, we are getting in these emotions and we are telling ourselves things that we are losing people because of how we're just flipping out, how we're just separated, how we're just dealing with something that the other person doesn't know about. And or how we attack somebody else off of what we're feeling.
Hurt people.
And I'm just like, but at this age, I thought that we can kind of be at a place where nobody has to be jealous of one another. We can come talk to one another. It's okay if, seasons change and, we're not going to be the greatest friends or the best of friends or things like that. But I do believe in, it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Absolutely. And it's about being intentional.
Yeah.
I think even in my friendships now, what I do is I ask them, what does it look like being your friend in this season?
Right.
Like a tune-up.
Right.
Because the friend that I was 3 years ago may not be the friend that, one, I can be because of my capacity, but two, what you may need, because you may need more of me, and I may not be able to give that to you, right? And there are certain relationships that are worth fighting for.
I agree.
Right? That no, we a lifetime and we rocking and we rolling.
Right.
Which is another reason why not only the book, but I'm gonna tell you a spoiler alert, because you my girl. You my girl.
Okay.
So I actually did a workbook for this.
Okay.
So it's in production right now. It should be out, prayerfully be out in a couple of months.
Okay.
But I also recognize it's the work. Like, you got to do the work. And the book is just like a little dab, because I wanted something like you throw in your pocketbook.
Right.
Or like when you're going through, like I think about a couple of months ago, I went through a place where I couldn't physically get out the bed. And I was like, okay, what would I tell my pals? Right. And I was like, read that book. And I opened the book and I read it from cover to cover. And I was like, okay. Because sometimes you need to reset too. Just because, I wrote it and I've lived through it doesn't mean that it's not something I'm continuing to do. Right. And I was like, it needs to be a workbook. Okay. Like, literally, like, it is a very, like, get a good pen. Right. Because you're going to be working. Yeah. To complement it, because I think people think that once you get there, you've arrived. Yeah. And I'm there and I reached there. No, you're forever arising. Right.
And I think a workbook will be excellent to actually have, because also too, like you said, people get to go and look back, read over, jot down some things. Because sometimes, I think we got so trapped into these phones thinking that writing stuff in notes, you can remember everything. Because I write a whole bunch of stuff in notes all the time. Like I said, even with me doing comedy, I mean, I got notes from here to here. And sometimes I do comedy, I don't even use them. But I do believe if you put stuff down on that black and white paper and go back and reread it,
it will jump at you. It will.
It does.
You say it out loud. Like, I think even with reading, like, I read out loud. Like, when I was reading, I was reading out loud. Right. It's something that it just cancels all of the noise. Right. It cancels anything depending on what your belief system is. Right. It's canceling the demons. It's canceling the committee in your head of idiots. Right. It's canceling out, because now I'm speaking. I'm not afraid to speak to those things, but I'm speaking it. Right. Nope, I'm not doing that. Nope, I need to do work. Nope. Yep. And it's being real with yourself. Like, you know what? Today I'm not really feeling cute, but I know if I look cute, I'm gonna feel cute. So let me throw it on. You gotta motivate yourself, because if you are looking for someone else to do it,
you could forget it.
Because everybody got something else going on with them.
You could forget it. Well, I want to thank you all for tuning in with me on Facebook. But before we end this show, I want Rohesia to tell us where can we get her book from. Envision My Beauty. Where can they follow you?
On Amazon, you can go straight to Amazon, or you can go on my Facebook. It's my name. It's no pretenses, right? The link is on there, or you can contact me directly. All my contact information is on social medias, and that way you could get a signed copy, and not just no regular. Like, I need you to tell them it's not no, love and light,
Right?
Rohesia Hicks,
Right.
right? There is a message for each person that purchases my book,
I agree.
because my thing is I need to be intentional,
Right.
So you can catch me on that. You can catch me on Instagram. Is _Vision My Beauty. Like, it's the same name and brand.
Okay.
So definitely follow me. Check me out. Reach out. And then, if you follow, you may know about when that workbook get released.
Okay. Great information. Thank you so much, all my Facebook followers. I tried to invite and tag a whole bunch of women, and some guys, so they could tap into this
Because
book.
some men read the book.
Yeah.
And they was like, yo, that...
Yeah.
They was like, now I can understand women a little bit better. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I love it. So listen, y'all, check her book out, Envision My Beauty by Rohesia Hicks. I want to thank you all on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube for following me tonight on Shady Talk Wednesday. And thank you so much, Ro, for coming here, being
Thank
a
you for
special
having
guest.
me.
I appreciate you.
Yes.
And hopefully we could do another updated interview.
Yes. I look forward to it.
Okay. Good night.
Bye.